someone's going to read this or view it, and it's going to change them. It could potentially change them.
Lounging, son.
Welcome everybody back to Creator Chat at the Comic Lounge. I have a very awesome guest for you guys today. I have Sanford Greene. You know him from Power Man and Iron Fist and from the Eisner Award winning Bitterroot. How's it going, Sanford?
Oh man, doing okay. Hanging in there.
Yeah. So, you know, like I do with everybody on the show, I always like to ask them how they first got into comics when they were growing up. Who were some of the creators or comics that you followed in the beginning?
Well, I got into comics because my mom took me to the local Kmart. All you young folks out there, you know, you may have heard of that before, but when I was a kid, my mom took me to the local Kmart, and back in the days, you could leave your kid in the toy section and come back and they're still there, safe and sound. But she left me there one day, and I noticed this spinner rack, and the spinner rack basically had all the comics, and that was the first time that I ever seen anything like that. And I noticed the characters that were on the display there were characters that I saw in cartoons, like the Super Friends and He-Man and things like that. And when I just walked up to the spinner rack, and I'm just like enamored with all these comics. And my mom came back. She noticed me just standing there, just staring at these books, and she was like, "You're interested in this stuff?" And I'm like, "Yes." I had no idea what it was, but I knew that it was something that looked cool. And she said, "Okay, I'll get you one if you promise to read them." And little did she know that she opened up a serious, door there that changed my life, really. So that's how it all started.
Right on. And did you decide pretty early on, after you started reading them, that you want to be an artist? Or when did that switch flip where you're like, you know what, I'm not just a fan of these, I want to make my own?
Right. Well, a lot of it was because I used to draw. Saturday mornings was the ritual. You get out you get up, you get your cereal, you watch cartoons all day, and now I got these comics to accompany me. Some of the comics, like the Super Friends, I noticed there were, certain characters like Green Lantern. I noticed, oh wow, there's a character on the Super Friends. This is the same guy in this comic. So I would draw from that. Of course, Spider-Man and his amazing friends, that changed the game for me. And just started to just draw while I was sitting there, reading the comic and looking at the cartoons. I was in heaven, man. So it started around that time. And of course, I started to notice that there were illustrations in these books, and they had certain names in each book. Like, you see Stan Lee's name, you see Jack Kirby's name, and you're like, wait a minute, that means these are the guys that are drawing this stuff. So now I'm starting to put it together. Maybe this is something I like drawing. Maybe this is something I could do one day. So fast forward, obviously that's what I'm doing now, but that kind of was the early seeds at that time.
I think the last time we spoke, you told me Wonder Girl was probably one of the breakout books, right? That got you kind of a little bit more mainstream notice, right?
Yeah. Wonder Girl was kind of the beginning of my next level of my career. I did a lot of independent stuff for at least 4 years, 3-4 years. I'm just doing a lot of independent stuff. This is roughly around 2004 and up into 2007. That's where I got my first significant break into the mainstream, and it was Wonder Girl.
And how did that project come about? Did you kind of reach out to DC and send them your samples, and they put you on the book?
Yeah, I started to see a lot of these editors at the comic conventions. That's when I started to go to, back in the days when Wizard World was a thing.
Yeah.
going to Chicago was like the holy grail of, comic conventions. And at that time, and going to Wizard World in Chicago, that's where I knew that most of these editors and publishers would be there. So I just, funny story, there was a friend of mine that was going up there for a wedding, and he took, it was his family, and the family was traveling, and I asked him, I said, hey, can I jump in your van? And, I got a hotel, I got all that stuff, but hey, I love to be able to travel with you guys. And they put me in the back, way in the back of the van. And I rolled up there with those guys, and that was kind of where I got those opportunities to meet the big companies, Marvel, DC, Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is not. I mean, that was my first convention ever. That's when I first saw the Image publishers and Milestone, all these guys there, and it was like, oh my God, it's like you're seeing like your whole world has come together in that one space. And that was also kind of the spark that really got me like seriously wanting to go and pursue the comic industry, seeing Milestones, seeing people that Black and brown folks that, like myself, and I'm like, oh wow, they're doing this on this high level. And of course the Image guys were huge rock stars at that time. So yeah, man, all of those pieces, all those different moments, really made me want to pursue this as a career. And again, like I said, I got my big break in Chicago, going to that Wizard World, and I met up with some editors there at DC, and started going, moving forward from there.
And you worked on the Method Man comic. That came out because I'm a huge hip hop head, so that came out after Wonder Girl, right? How did that project come about, and how closely did you work with Method Man on that book?
Oddly enough, they both happened at the same time. I got my break at DC doing the Wonder Girl series, and the book publisher, Hachette, they had a publishing deal with Method Man and a few other hip hop artists at the time. And they reached out to me. I think we first met at a convention. I think it might've been Wizard World. That's where everything happened around that time. And of course, me being a hip hop fan as well, that was like the end all be all for me to be able to do something with someone and be a part of a hip hop legend. To be a part of that project was like, that was goodness. You couldn't get any higher than that. And I don't know, man. It was the best, worst time of my life because I had two projects that I was absolutely excited and grateful for, and they both needed to be done roughly around the same time. And they also were done in like a different artistic viewpoint. Wonder Girl a little more clean and more animated influence, and then the Method Man was more gritty. And honestly, I was just kind of learning on the fly. I was learning how to do brushwork. Paul Pope is a guy that I look at, huge influence. At that moment, I started to really look more into artists that do their own ink work. And Paul Pope was probably the first guy that really got my attention, who does his own work, full art. And I did Method Man kind of inspired off of that. Looking back at it, obviously I would do a million things differently now, but yeah, man, Method Man and Wonder Girl happened pretty much at the same time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I even saw that design you did for Raekwon, which was pretty sick, dude. It's gonna be a statue, right?
Yeah, and we got more coming, man. More surprises.
Fuck yeah.
Those different products. So stay tuned. Did you get a chance to get one of the statues?
No.
Because I know that. Yeah, those things, man. The company is called Concrete Jungle, and the main guy, the owner, he reached out to me, honestly, because he knew my work from all the things you just talked about, and of course my current work, and he wanted to see if we could collaborate, and he gave me a list of artists, and Raekwon's name was on the list, and I'm like, absolutely, that's a no-brainer right there. And I felt the same way when I was asked to do that, the same way I felt when I was asked to do the Method Man book. So, you know, I've been kind of on the peripheral of the hip hop, you know, community, doing work ever since I've been in the industry. So, you know, just another great opportunity.
Yeah, that shit was so dope, dude. I mean, I can't. You said there's other artists. Is it just Wu-Tang, or is it? Can you tell that? Is it more than just Wu-Tang Clan, or you can't tell me?
I cannot.
All right.
But there's others, and we're working on. There is a huge act that looks like it's gonna happen, but you'll see it when it's announced.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Damn it. All right. So
I said, I know that did not help you at all, but hey.
It's only for personal. It's only because I want to know, you know. So the book that put you on my radar was Power Man and Iron Fist. That's what made me seek like your other stuff. I love that book. I was wondering, when you landed that gig, how huge was that for you? Like, what were you like a huge fan of them as a kid, like that duo?
So I'll show you something. Since we're here, you can't really see it because it's off camera, but I have a spinner rack to my right, which is your left. But there was an ad in this comic here. I went back and I bought this comic. Anyway, there was a comic, an Avengers comic. I think it was issue 181, and in the back there was an ad for their holiday special. This is it right here. Okay, and in the back there was an ad. Okay, so this ad right here, and I noticed that dude right there. I knew every character. By this time, I knew all the characters, but I didn't know this guy. Can you see?
Yeah, Luke Cage with that tiara on there.
Hey, I didn't know who he was, and as a kid, I was like, "Who is this?" And you don't have the internet, you don't have social media, you don't have any of this stuff to find out. So I'm combing through whatever comics that I had at the time to see if he might have been in any of the comics. But I'm like, he's got to be important because he's on this reef with all these other characters. He's with the Hulk and Captain America and so on and so forth. So long story short, there's this book, this next comic that I got. I think it might have been a Fantastic Four or something more mainstream. And in the back, there was an ad that had Iron Fist basically talking to the reader about, hey, you need to get our new comic, because if you don't, my friend here is going to be very upset. And you flip the page, and it's the same guy pointing, going, yeah, you need to get our book. You know, long story short, and it was the ad that Bill Sienkiewicz did. I don't know if you remember. It's a pretty popular ad. So now it's kind of like that eureka moment. Like, oh my God, there he is. That's the guy. So of course it was the Power Man Iron Fist book. And I'm begging my mom. This is the first time I begged my mom to take me to the store for a specific book. I would go just to get comics because I didn't religiously followed any comic. I just wanted to buy whatever because at that time that's all, you had comics and you read them. Yeah. But that was the first one that made me go out to find it. Of course, it wasn't a mainstream title, so we didn't get a whole lot of those issues where I lived. Right. But when I found a few, I got as many as I could, and I just tore them apart. Fast forward, being asked to do the new series was like a full circle of my childhood, the memories, all that stuff came back, and I got emotional because it's like, wow, this is the same feeling that I got when I first saw him, and now I get to, pretty much reimagine him and bring him back out in the forefront. So all that being said, definitely exciting.
To me, that was one of the best books Marvel was publishing at the time, in my opinion. I remember, I got it recommended at my comic shop because I was looking for something and I didn't know that it was out. I was just getting back into comics. I had been out for like a few months or maybe like about a year or whatever. And they recommended it. There was 4 issues out. I just bought all 4 because I'm like, all right, I trust them. I don't want to have to drive back here later after I read issue 1 and then I have to pick up the rest. So I just caught up. And I remember reading that first issue, boom, sold. I loved it. And from then on, it was like it continued to be one of my favorite books coming out, not just from Marvel, but in general. I loved your art style. And like I said, like I'm a huge hip hop head and I've I'll talk about it later about your style, but like your style just grabbed me instantly. And, when it ended, I was so upset. I was just like, I don't fucking understand why this book is not continuing. It just didn't make sense to me. So
right.
I was wondering if you could kind of share like why did it end when it did? Because like there was a Luke Cage show coming out, there's an Iron Fist show coming out. So it's like, to me, it makes sense to have a book out that is good,
right.
And so I was just curious if you could share like how that was, that editorial that kind of wanted it to end so that they could split off or
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of all of that. It's definitely politics, to be honest with you. And we thought the same things, man. Hey, we're hitting at a perfect time here. We have, this book that definitely, if anything, it got a lot of acclaim. But Marvel wanted to, have a little bit more. They wanted to spread the seeds a little farther, if you will, rather than just having them in one book. They wanted to have 2 books, you see, and that was pretty much how it all kind of came together. Because the vast audience does not know Power Man, but they know Luke Cage, right? Mm-hmm. So they just felt like we just couldn't. It wasn't the kind of marketing direction that they wanted to go in anymore. Which again, to me, my thoughts were similar to yours. Like, hey, you can still do a Luke Cage book, solo book. You can do an Iron Fist solo book, but then you can do this book as well to kind of accompany that, to show that, the bigger picture of their worlds coming together. Not in the cards, but hey, you know what? I'm glad people dug it when it was out, and me and David, we moved forward, and we're doing something that we're super proud of now.
Yes. Yeah, and I was gonna say, it was that the catalyst that set you guys up to doing Bitterroot when that was canceled, and you guys. I know I think he wrote the Luke Cage series for a little bit, but you weren't at Marvel after that book. So when that ended, did you just go full force, like, let's do this book? And by the way, again, congrats on that Eisner.
Thanks, man.
Well deserved, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely were at that point where we realized that, if we don't do it now, I think we got to strike in this. We were at our zenith, I think, at Marvel for that time, because there were things that we wanted to do at Marvel, and it just felt like we were spinning our wheels. Just truth be told, and that's when we knew that it was probably time to start planting some seeds. And we did. We planted some seeds, looking at different publishers, and then Image. We had a meeting with Image at a Comic-Con, I think. And they were, before we could even give them the idea, they were ready to see us come aboard. So once we knew that we were welcome and people were excited to have us, we knew that that was a time to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's easily been one of my favorite books. I mean, I was super stoked when I found out that was canceled, and I found out you guys were teaming up to do another book together. I didn't even really, not to say I didn't care about what it was about, but like I didn't need to know what it was about. I was just like, oh, they're going here. I'm going to follow along. And I was, I wanted to ask, like, you know, just from the time period that you guys chose to the characters, I mean, everything just, it just comes together so well. And you guys deal with a lot of some of like the undertones of like what you guys are talking about, some like hard-hitting themes. You know, you guys talking about racism in there. You talk about a lot of stuff that's going on during that period. And I was wondering, from the beginning, what was the mission behind this book? Because yes, they're fighting monsters, but I know it's so much more and it's so much deeper than that. It's not just about a family fighting monsters. You know what I mean?
Well, truth be told, it was kind of this perfect storm of us, you know, reading the tea leaves at our time with Marvel. We knew that we probably needed to move forward, and the exact thing you just said. We knew that we had an audience and we had a following. So we knew that if we do anything, we need to do it now because that following would stay engaged wherever we go. So it was that part. But then we were trying to bounce some ideas around, and Chuck Brown, our other partner, he had this loose idea about doing something during the Harlem Renaissance, doing this idea in that time period. And I just thought that was a fascinating idea, that time period, because it's not too much out there, especially in comics or in any genre really of that time period. You know, you have movies that dropped, 20 years ago, but other than that, like Cotton Club and films like that, but you don't have anything in recent time. So I just was fascinated with the time period. And then for some reason, I just thought, wow, that would be kind of cool to explore. And so I started doing some design work, and for some reason, steampunk kind of just morphed into it because it just felt like this could work. Because it's just the aesthetics of that time had that feel to it. It's kind of a cross between Victorian and some other type of urban, the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
And especially in the fashion. And then during that time, the elections happened. And you started seeing, even before that, like months before that, it was just this groundswell of just a lot of tension in the country and in the world, really. And you really started seeing people, people's viewpoints on full display. And we were like, man, this thing is like this uncontrollable monster. And then it hit us. Wait a minute, that's an idea. And we started playing around with that whole concept, and we put it in that time period of the Harlem Renaissance because we just thought that it would just be really unique just in that. No other reason other than just the time period just felt like it was alive and rich from a historical standpoint. And now here you have this juxtaposition of this underbelly of this dark evil that could just totally destroy all of that, and has, and yeah, man. So, it's all that stuff that's kind of coming together, and that's pretty much how we developed the whole concept.
Yeah, it's so fucking dope. And the first volume was fantastic, and I think you guys leveled up even more so with this second volume. I know you have a couple editions. You had Sophie Dodgson on as colorist. You have my favorite editor in the biz, Shelley Bond, on the book. So I was like, fuck yeah, dude. When I found out Shelley was coming on the book, I was so excited. I kind of know the story because she shared it with me when I talked to her about it. But I do want to know, I want to hear your side, kind of. How did these two amazing women come onto the book? How and why? That's what I want to say.
Well, how was because we needed a new editor. Heather Anto, she was an editor on the first volume. She moved on to Valiant, and so it's just as simple as that. We just needed a new editor, and we were intentional in our search. We didn't want to get a dude because we wanted to be intentional about creating opportunities for as many diverse voices as we could. And Shelley, I've worked with Shelley and known her for at least 10 years, maybe a little longer. She's been probably, like you said, not even probably, she's definitely been the best experience I've had working in the industry when she was at DC. Yeah, I wish we were able to do something at DC, like some kind of, you know, seminal project, at DC. But hey, we're doing something pretty significant right now.
Yeah,
it's pretty sad. But yeah, she's been incredible to work with at every turn. Really, without her, we wouldn't be where we are now. Just being honest, we needed to have someone that understood structure and give us, a really great schedule to allow us to be able to get ourselves back on our feet. And she came in on volume 2, and she'll be with us hopefully until we can't do this thing anymore. Yeah. But as far as with Sophie Dodgson, she's just been, I don't know, man. It's like an angel just fell from heaven, I guess, if you want to put it in that sense. I know it sounds a little corny, but she literally came out of nowhere. It was like, oh, okay. We were the same thing. We were looking for a new colorist, and Rico Renzi was our original colorist, and he's doing incredible. He does incredible work, but he needed to move forward with some other projects that was very pressing for him. And again, we were trying to be intentional with that. I wanted to get, an artist, colorist of color or female or both. It was what we were looking for. And on top of that, they have to be real dope. Mm-hmm. And so I just put out feelers. I put out some stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well, and got tons of submissions, man. It was insane. And it got to the point where it was kind of overwhelming. And one night, it was about, I don't know, probably 11 o'clock or something that night. And I just saw a couple of messages pop up on my Instagram messenger. And I rarely check that thing on Instagram. At least at the time, I didn't check it a lot. And, I just happened to see it. And I'm like, who sends messages on this thing now? Is kind of like that's a normal thing. But at that moment, I just didn't think it was very unconventional. So I happened to check it. It was Sophie, and she said, "Hey, you don't know me. I saw that you were, looking for a colorist, and I thought I might just try." And that's pretty much all she said in the message. She sent me a link, and when I saw it, I was like, "Oh wow, this is really good." And so I emailed her back, and then we ended up having a conversation on almost like an interview. Mm-hmm. And she was just really cool, real down to earth, knows her stuff, knows the industry. She's also she does costume designs for
she's crazy.
Yeah, she does things. And so and then she had these intangible things. She's a mom, and I think that aspect of it was what really kind of made me go, okay, she can balance all this stuff, and she just seems to be what's the word? She's just aware. She's not in control, you know what I mean? She's not like, oh, I got it all together, but mm-hmm. She literally just knows how to work all of her different parts. And I'm like, you know what? There's something to be said about that. I know I'm kind of long-winded on this one, but I think I needed to kind of explain it a little more, because it honestly wasn't her coloring, it was her personality and her presence that she had, and the fact that she can juggle all these things, and she seems to be able to make sense of it all. And I'm like, you know what? We need someone like that. we're a bunch of dudes, and we can get, we're a bunch of dudes in comics, so you know how that goes, right? So she was just a calming force in that sense, and on top of that, she ended up being a really dope colorist.
Yeah, she is fucking dope for sure.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we definitely appreciate her and Shelley.
Yeah, the two of them are both awesome. Like I was lucky enough. Well, I've talked to Shelley a couple times, but I was lucky enough to talk to Sophie a couple weeks ago, and she is. I told her, I'm like, you are fucking insane. Like you know how to do so much different shit. Like you're so much more than just a colorist. And I even asked her, I was like, how the fuck do you juggle all those things? And you're a mom, because her son is 5 too. And I was like, man, I feel for you. I really do. I don't know how to, especially during this quarantine stuff. Like it's rough.
Yeah. Did she tell you that she used to do roller derby?
No, she didn't share that part with me.
That's why I was like, you know what? I knew I like you. It was like there's something that there's a side of her that you just don't want to mess with her, man. But yeah, she did roller derby. I think she's trying to do it again. But yeah, she's real dope.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I wish I would have known. I would have asked her about that.
Get her the next time.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple more things about, in terms of your art and Bitterroot, I wanted to ask. So like I said, like your style, like there's just such a kinetic hip hop, punk rock, like just like this fusion of just energy that explodes off of the page. Mm-hmm. And, like you said, like the Wonder Girl stuff is a little bit more cartoony, and you do have like a grittier style now, right? And it's even from like Power Man Iron Fist to Bitterroot, I can see the change. I was wondering how you continue to change your style and develop into what it is now.
Lots of practice, I guess. Just working on the craft.
Any influences?
Well, my guy from the beginning of my interest in doing comics to now has been, once I learned his name, was Michael Golden, or is Michael Golden, and he's just so far ahead of his time, man. I can go back to books that he did in the 80s when I was a kid, and I got overwhelmed as a kid. I just didn't understand it. And but looking back at it now, he's doing things. He was doing things then that I'm doing right now, and like the way that certain things colored. And I show Sophie all of the stuff that he's done with the book, the Nam, that series that he did at Marvel. I'm like, hey, just take these and just study the way that he colors this stuff in the Nam, and that's the direction I want to go. So yeah, it's like every aspect of his art I'm influenced by. But like I said, there are other, man, there's so many artists, man, but he's probably he's the foundation of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like just even your layouts, the way you lay out a page, like I was flipping through Power Man and Iron Fist recently again, and I'm like that scene in issue 1 when they're at the diner and you just have that full spread, right? And you just have them sitting there. Like there's something so cinematic about that shot, and like you don't get that from every artist, and that's why I think like your art really stands out to me.
I study outside of just looking at different artists, but I study film a lot. I think I was watching Goodfellas, and that's probably where that scene came from. I'm pretty sure, sitting at the diner and the kind of just juxtaposition angle, and I look at camera angles all the time, man. That's a big deal for me.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. Now that you said Goodfellas, now I'm gonna go look at that comic again and see if I can point that out. One more thing about Bitterroot. What's up with Volume 3? Volume 2 ends this week. I haven't read. I have the PDF of the last issue, but I don't want to spoil it. I want it in my hand. It's something about I need a comic in my hand. I don't like reading digitally too much.
And you need the digital stuff.
Yeah. So, by the way, that variant cover is fire too. That you guys, these covers, man, that you guys be picking. I'm telling you. But Volume 3, what's up with that? Any word on that?
We're working on it.
Okay, that's all. That's good enough for me.
We'll be out. We're gonna put volume 2, the collection of it is coming out in October. So you got issue 10 this week. October is volume 2, and probably more than likely we're going to launch again early 2021. COVID really kind of put a lot of stuff on. I mean, we were already kind of trending in that direction, but that really kind of solidified that we got to, you know, make this thing great. And plus, we're doing some stuff here a little different. Not so much in the format, but just we wanted volume 2 to have some special editions. So we're working a little bit more on that, so that when people get it, they're getting something something a little different. It's the same thing overall, but there's some extra things there in volume 2. So we're focusing on that as well. Volume 3, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a inside baseball, I guess. You know, on the volumes 1 and 2, I did the connecting covers, right? I know you have variants, but I did the connecting covers on volume 1 and 2. So we're doing the same thing on volume 3, and it's going to be insane. It's just going to be insane. Nice. That's all I got.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's more than enough for me. I'm just glad that there's more of it. And this is personal. I don't know if anybody else watching or listening really cares about these things. I love hardcovers. I am a sucker for hardcovers. I will buy the single issues, and then I will go buy the hardcovers as well. Is there a chance that you guys will do that? Because Image puts out great hardcovers. Will you collect the 3 volumes in hardcover possibly?
If Image, well, knowing Image, that's a very strong possibility that we'll be doing that. So yeah, and we're looking at, like I said, we're also looking at some other formats that we're possibly going to do as well. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, so like we were kind of talking about at the beginning of the episode, I would be remiss if I did not talk about what's going on in the world today. Before, you know, just mostly with the social justice issues and stuff. This has been it's been a weird week, to say the least. I'm a huge basketball fan, and I knew what happened before they decided to not play the games. I respect the shit out of them for doing what they did. I think that they flexed their power, and it got people that weren't paying attention to them, weren't paying attention to what they were saying, to listen and hear what they're saying. And right. I wanted to ask you, you know, as a black man, like I'm affected by it in a different, definitely not the same way, right? So I was wondering how you have been dealing with this stuff on a personal level. Has it affected your artistic output? Like how are you able to kind of like, because I know it has, I'm sure it's affecting you, you know, and I was wondering how that affects you wanting to draw, or is that kind of an escape?
It's a little bit of all of that, I guess. Definitely, like you said, this week has just been, you know, times 10 in terms of the emotions and some of the just the reality, and just how much there is this mountain of work that we have to do, and you're sober about it. And that soberness, I think, makes you reflective a lot. I am constantly thinking about what I do, not even so much what I say, but what I do in this moment in time, because of all of those things you just mentioned. Knowing that as a black man in this industry where representation is kind of like we take pride in that. That's like the badge that we carry. But even in that, there's still a lot of blind spots, right? And I think you think about just with the passing of Chad and what that represented it's like he was in a way kind of the Superman of the Black characters, right? Because he was on that same pedestal as Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. There, I might even challenge that he might be even more popular in terms of the worldview.
I think he is more popular,
right? And for him to have passed, and then what we have going on here from all the racial injustice, it really felt like he really died, like Black Panther died, right? And you think about just what a character has meant to Black and brown people, all people really, all fans of it. And as a Black creator, you realize, that character was created during a time of social unrest. That's why Black Panther was created, right? And what we're doing right now, I think makes it gives it that much more value and weight. It would have been valuable and we would have felt the responsibility regardless. But now it's kind of like we have an obligation. So when I feel all the emotions and stuff, I think what I ultimately get to, the point that I get to, is a feeling of empowerment and a feeling of resilience. And I know that that's kind of a phrase that we've been saying here for quite a while as a people, is you got to be resilient, like resilience. But it takes a different turn when you're thinking about. It's one thing to fight for equal rights, civil rights. It's another thing to fight for, or to take that same type of energy and put it on a page and now give something back to people that could potentially give them the energy to be able to do those things, to be resilient, if that makes sense. Black Panther made people that much more resilient. Not only resilient, it made them feel pride and feel honor and feel, you see what I'm saying? So I think I've been reflecting on this a lot the last 2 days. I had a friend of mine called me. Full disclosure, I had a friend of mine who is married to his wife is one of the cousins of Chad, right? And what he shared with me about my place in this whole creative world, or world in general, just my place, and what I've been kind of predestined, if you will, to become and to use this talent to transform a people, right? And I'm like, whoa, that's a pretty heavy thing. But it's not just me. It's any of us who sit down. I mean, it's in a sense, it's the reason. It's part of what Simon and Schuster did when they created Superman, right? And their whole idea was, we need to do something that's gonna, encourage our souls and empower us first, but also if we feel that, we know that we can now have the confidence to give that same power and energy to a people. And I'm like, okay, that's what we need to, that's what we need to do. So I say all that stuff to say I feel empowered more than anything. It hurt, sad, angry sometimes, yeah, but taking that and being able to channel it into Bitterroot or whatever else I'm working on, knowing that someone's going to read this or view it, and it's going to change them. It could potentially change them.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that you have that kind of responsibility, it does make you create a little differently. You know, you create with that awareness, you know. But yeah, you know, I hope that makes sense what I'm saying.
It does. It does.
You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. But you know, I could sit and feel like, man, nothing's gonna ever change. But you know, Black Panther came out, and it literally felt like the world changed.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
and that is bigger than anything that any whatever politician or religious whatever. It transformed people of all walks, and I mean, I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I mean, it transcended more than just being a comic book film. I think it
Right.
was a cultural. It just brought something overall to the world that we hadn't seen before. You know, like it was, like you said, it's more than a comic book film. You know what I mean?
Right, and on a kind of a bottom line kind of deal, people saw it and they realized, wait a minute, this actually is making a big impact, and now people want to be a part of it. If it wasn't for Black Panther doing what it did, Bitterroot would not be here. I can tell you that for sure. It wouldn't be here. At least it wouldn't be on the level that it's at right now. You know, we owe everything to that. So just from that standpoint, we feel that much more empowered. Like, wow, look, we knew it. You know, it's kind of like this. It's almost kind of like, you know, you notice this. There's this. I don't know. You're a sports fan, right? With, you know, there's this guy that plays street ball. Everyone knows he's really good, and he's known all over the place. But the mainstream guys don't know. But then you give him a chance, and he goes in and crushes it. We knew all along. Yeah, of course, we knew that this guy could hang with all of these dudes. We knew that. It just took one moment just to give that one opportunity for him to show what he can really do. Now they're all like, what? Any more of those guys out there like that? You know. Yeah. So that's what Black Panther was.
Yeah, I mean,
I should even say is.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, like you said, you know, like I think what you guys are doing on Bitterroot, I think what Brandon Thomas and Kari Randolph are doing on Excellence, I mean, those are actually two of my favorite books right now. And, you know, I love the essays that you guys put in the back. I love the stuff that Brandon Thomas and Kari have been writing and putting in the back, touching on like the topics going on in the world. And I've often said that if you don't read that stuff, you're not getting the full package of what these men are, you know, producing, you know. And I can't say enough good about that. And you're talking about Chadwick, you know, this year started off shitty when we lost Kobe. You know, that hit me hard because, I mean, I've watched the Lakers since I was a little boy with my dad. My dad passed when I was 18. Oh. So like watching Kobe die, it's brought up old feelings, you know what I mean? And he lost when his daughter was with him. I was sitting on the couch next to my daughter when I found out, you know. So wow. All I did was I looked at her, and I don't cry, man. I was fucked up for like weeks about that. Yeah. You know, like I couldn't stop, and finally, like when I saw them more, I just poured out, you know, and I couldn't hold it in, and you know, while I don't have that same connection to Chadwick Boseman, he was somebody that, like, I watched, you know, like his commencement speech for Howard. I've watched those videos of him speaking and like the eloquence in his voice, and like he's such a powerful human being. And then to find out that he was battling cancer when he filmed these movies and gave such powerful performances, it just adds so much more depth to what he did. And like, I just like all night I kept looking at my wife. I'm like, I can't fucking believe this. This is not real. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. There's no way he died. Like, I found it from Rob Liefeld's Instagram post. You know, I'm like, there's no, like, he's not lying, but like, I don't think you would lie about that. But seriously, like, that's how I found out. And you know, like, I think if you go on my Facebook, that all there is some comic stuff, and then it's just Chadwick is on my entire page, just because like I've just been so moved by his words and his what he brought out. And it just sucks that we've lost two of the most beautiful souls on this planet in one shitty ass fucking year. And
yeah, you know something, man. I am a believer in everything happening for a reason. Trust me. This year I wish it would get buried right now. We can bury it right now, but you know, we hadn't even talked about being in COVID, you know, and just how. But just think about it. COVID is kind of like the bed of all of this stuff, right? If we were in our regular lives, yeah, it would have been hard and tough to take. But as hard as it is to say, even with Kobe, we were kind of, by February, we were kind of trying to move on. Everyone's kind of moving on. Yeah, after his ceremony, his eulogy, you can kind of feel the world like, all right, we're kind of moving on now. And even right when COVID first happened, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, wait a minute, Kobe died this year. It felt like it was already months ago. It was only maybe a month and a half, right? But it felt like it was longer than that because so much happens in between that. Then COVID kind of shut everything down, and now you're bringing everything because everyone's sitting in it. Everyone has to sit in it, and I think, and that's why I mean, I'm a firm believer. This is why you see people losing their minds out here too, because they're not in control, right? We hate people dying unexpectedly, and we don't believe it. We don't want to believe it because in a weird kind of way, we think because they're around and then they're not around, and then we say, no, that's not true, is because we just got this sense of when you should die. That it's a control thing. He should be dying when he's 90, and you know, and he's got all the awards, and you know, same thing with Kobe. He should be, you know, because that's a control in our head. We got control of that whole scenario. And so when it happens in those kind of ways, it's just so hard for us because that is the totally out of our control. You see what I'm saying? Some of it is kind of speaking on some more spiritual kind of thing, but a lot of it is just being reflective on us as humans, man. We ain't used to not being in control. That's for sure. We definitely are getting a hard lesson on that, and I think a big or even bit bigger part of it is just because we're not in control, or at least learning to the importance of our fellow man. You know what I mean? It's like, because I ain't in control, I gotta rely on some other people. You know, I'm gonna do me. You know, we get into that mode, right? It's all about me. I did this, right? But you know, it's something to be said about me and trusting, you know, this other person with something that I might even consider valuable, you know, for me, and I gotta entrust this person. It takes a little bit of humility to do that. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm getting all philosophical or whatever, but that's honestly a lot of the ways I kind of stay focused, man. I mean, besides the drawing, I can kind of sit and meditate on things and get a little grounded and centered, man. I think that's the biggest thing, is finding those things that we we take value in, like your daughter and your wife, and regardless of you feeling like I got to be the man to take care of them, you got to entrust them too. Even your daughter. It's like your daughter's going to give you something that you got to rely on her to entrust, that entrusted into her. Whatever that is. Even if it something as simple as her jumping on your neck and hugging you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you got to entrust that in. You have to rely on that from her. But yeah, man.
Yeah. You spoke on the representation kind of in comics. I was wondering what, in your opinion, like what you think we need to see more of. I have my own views on what I think we should be seeing more of, but I would love to hear from you what you would like to see more of as both a creator and fan.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably take a different approach. I would just love to see more Black editors and more Black editors in the major publishers.
Yeah. Simple
as that. I mean, because I think, truth be told, in my opinion, I think representation is all out there now. You got even if it's not a major published title, or something from Marvel or DC or whatever. There can be more. There can always be more. But behind the scenes, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. More of that behind the scenes.
Yep, that's where I think it needs to be, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I know there's a lot of female editors out there now, but not a lot of Black ones.
Yeah, I mean, I try to follow editors as well. I think you're right. I want to see across the board creators and editors and people at the high level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I do want to ask a couple more questions. But this is more just like for enjoyment. I want to know, what books or creators are you currently following, currently into?
Simply because I'm sitting here and I have all this stuff at my disposal. I'm not even looking at anything new. A lot of it is just old stuff, man. I'm going back and checking out John Byrne work on Fantastic Four, of course, Michael Golden.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh yeah, first appearance of Rogue. Nice.
I got 2 copies of this. I got a really nice copy of that. Art Adams stuff. Man, there's this comic that I'm slowly trying to find copies of, this book called Friday Foster. This right here, based on Pam Grier. I think it was one of her first roles. It was a syndicated show. I think it lasted like 2 seasons or whatever. There was a comic book based on it. Art in it is real dope. It's pretty much what it looks like. It looks like she's a reporter, kind of type. But yeah, man, I'm trying to get a collection of that. So that's the stuff that I really get into. So I read a lot of that. I haven't been reading a whole lot of new titles. I'm fans of a lot of artists. I love Daniel Warren Johnson's work.
Yeah,
he's probably one of the guys that I'm digging. Mateo Scalera, I think he's real dope. Yeah, but so those guys, I follow their work more than the actual series and stuff like that. But yeah, the stuff that I read, a lot of it is all the old stuff.
All right, cool. Then music-wise, do you listen to music when you're drawing, or do you need silence? And if you do listen to music, I would love to hear what you're listening to.
Man, I'm kind of the same way with the music I am with the comics, man. I'm just going a lot of the classic stuff from the 90s, a lot of Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, Gang Starr. yeah, man, just all that stuff, man. Of course, Tribe, De La, all those guys, and then I can go a little underground with groups. I say underground; those guys are sort of kind of underground, but they're more of the more names, the bigger names. Guys like the Boot Camp Click, those guys. I'm big fans of. Ninth Wonder and whatever he puts out, produces. Jay Dilla probably is whatever he's had his hands in at the time, all the old stuff from Slum Village. Big fans of that stuff. And oddly enough, I don't listen to it all the time. What I listen to on a daily basis is a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of stuff, comic podcasts. These dudes, the Comic Kayfabe.
Cartoonist Kayfabe?
Cartoonist Kayfabe, yeah, those dudes.
Yeah.
Ed Piscor, he kind of got me interested when I saw he did a Hip Hop Family Tree. When I first met him, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you would look like, but then I should have known Ed Piscor. I was like, that doesn't sound like, Raheem, or it's nothing like that. Didn't strike me as that. So, but they do a great job. Him and Jim Rugg, they're real dope. I check out their stuff all the time. 11 O'Clock Comics, those guys are dope. I listen to or watch a lot of Drink and Draw, those dudes, Dan Panosian and those dudes, they're real good. Yeah, man, it's just a lot of that kind of stuff. Just a lot of artists, podcasts, those kind of things.
Right on.
And I talk a lot on. I do Zoom meetings with a lot of these guys, so I don't have a lot of time to listen to stuff if I'm talking to them.
Right. And then one more question before we get out of here. I was wondering, what else are you working on? I know you were drawing just before we were talking.
Working on can you see that? The Demon.
Etrigan? Yes. Sick.
So, long story short, hang on real quick. I'm doing these Bitterroot bundles. So you'll get the entire the second volume, or the second 6 issues, 5 issues, 6 through 10. They come with original art on the back of each issue and a 6x9 original piece. Yeah. So that's the.
Well, first of all, are you allowed to pick who the 6x9 is?
They're going to be pre-drawn.
Okay.
Right? But if people are willing to pay the commission or what to do the commission, then I'll consider doing some extras based on your preference. But
come on, please, because I really want, I have been thinking about it since January when Kobe passed.
Before you say it, okay, so it's Kobe. Well, I was gonna say it'll be more of a shot like this. I guess I'll show. I got a few that's finished. Well, semi-finished. I got this one.
Oh, sick.
Oh
my God, yes.
Yeah. And they're almost done. I'm almost done with them. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's stuff like these guys. And I'm just like, cause I'm drawing characters that I just would think, oh, cool, that'd be cool to draw. I got some Bitterroot characters in here too, man. I got all the Bitterroot characters.
Oh fuck yeah. Dude, I love your art, man. I love it untouched by colors too. Not to say that it's not good colored, but I love black and white. So
I understand. But yeah, I'm trying to wrap these up. I was hoping to be done with this today, but the weekend is making it a bit challenging to do. But yeah, I'll be announcing the bundles this week. I'll be announcing them this week.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'll post every piece. I have a gallery that people can go through and pick the one that they like, and yeah, ship them off. I've done this before.
I know I missed out on the first one.
That on the first one, but yeah, this one is the second one here. So yeah, we'll get this rocking this week.
All right, awesome. All right, so last thing before we get out of here, I was wondering if you could just throw out the plugs of like where we can find you online. I'll also throw the links down below.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Sanford Greene.
All right, cool. And once again, man, thank you. This has been a privilege to be able to talk to you today. This is probably one of the ones I've enjoyed the most. This is a great conversation, and thank you again for doing this, man.
Awesome, man. Well.